This week we are talking about organization, and for a busy student who may also work and have family or social commitments, getting organized can be just another item on a really long to-do list. When you add getting organized to your already long mental to-do list, it doesn't actually help you get the list done. It just adds more to the list and makes you feel like you have more reason that you need to get organized. That's how I often am. Is anybody with me? Well, if you're like me, getting organized also doesn't mean getting organized once. It means getting organized and then chaos slowly takes back over and then you try to get organized again, which means even if I take time out of my schedule to get organized, I might need to do it again next week, and that's a problem. So what we need is a system, and it needs to be flexible and adaptable, and work with the way our brains work and become part of the way we work instead of just another item on our to-do list. So today we're going to look at a system created by a guy named David Allen called Getting Things Done. I've been using Getting Things Done modified and adapted to my own personal work style for about 10 years, as well as teaching it to students. So I know that it's a good system and I know it works for most people. It also works ridiculously well with OneNote, which is a bonus. I have to admit, I have modified it. I'm not a purist. There are many, many people out there that are very, very purist when it comes to the Getting Done system as described by David Allen. I'm not one of those. I've taken the bits and pieces that work for me and I've modified the rest to be very specific for my needs. So you may want to be a purist and you may not. You might want to modify it. You might want to only use it for the rest of this class as a requirement and then get rid of it. It's up to you. But I hope you'll get far enough along to really make a good judge of whether or not it is a system that's going to work for you, because it's worked for millions of people and many, many students right here on this campus. So though I did not require you to purchase the book, it is a quick read and I encourage you to grab it and read it for yourself. For now, instead, I'm going to ask you to watch a 1-hour video by David Allen introducing the concept behind getting things done. There are also a couple of copies of the book in my office or the LRC if anybody wants to just borrow it. Before you watch the video, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you're going to be hearing in the context of what you've already been learning over the last couple of weeks. David Allen believes that in order to think creatively, to have the cognitive space available, quiet mind, to have ideas and to really be creative, you have to get the clutter of your multiple to-do lists out of your head. So every time you think of something you need to do, he has you get it out of your head and into a system that will remind you to do it at just the moment you need to be reminded. He's right, and we know he's right based on what we've already learned. That idea, the idea that David Allen really has, is to reduce the cognitive load and free up the demands being placed on your working memory, right? We already know that working memory is finite. It has a limited capacity for things that it can hold on it. You guys know more about memory than most of the people that David is talking to. So you have some more advanced terminology that he's assuming that people don't have. But you already understand the limited ability your brain has to hold things in it and why, and also, why writing something down and then working with it, categorizing it, making sense of it, organizing it, labeling it, tagging it, right? All those things that your memory needs in order to recall it is helpful. Once you write it down, he requires you to process it, which requires you to focus your attention on it and to properly sort it out into a category. You have to make meaning of what it is, right? What category does it fit in based on what it is? So when you ask yourself, what is this thing really asking me to do and how important is it, you're making meaning, which requires that deeper level of processing. So nothing new here. You've heard it all before. Watch for that terminology in the video. Watch for the use of attention and meaning making when you're watching that. All right, so let's talk about recall a little bit. If we spit everything out of our working memory, how do we know we'll get the cue to call mom on her birthday instead of 2 weeks later? Well, often that's when it comes, right? That cue to do something important doesn't come at the moment we need it. We sit up in bed at 3 a.m. and go, I forgot to call mom. And that's the real benefit of having a system. So what you actually do for this to work is to get everything out of your head. You're not trying to keep call mom on your working memory so that you remember it at the exact right time. You're not putting a sticky note beside the door or the piece of mail taped to the door that you need to remember to take with you to the office in the morning. You're not keeping so that you get reminded to take the mail and then it falls off the door overnight and you don't remember it because that your system had a flaw, right? So in David Allen's Getting Things Done, you don't keep anything up here. You're not depending on your working memory or your brain to recall anything at a given time. If you remember a phone call you have to make, you write it down and put it in this system. And then once a day or twice a day, you go through all the little bits that you've collected and you sort it and you prioritize it. And it actually works and helps take the franticness out of a long to-do list. So once you have spit everything out onto, let's just say every little bit, everything, that, as soon as it happens, as soon as it comes to your mind, oh, I need to call mom, you write it down, put it into the system, and you deal with it later. Everything just gets spit out, spit out, spit out. Oh, don't forget to call the plumber, do this, do that. Anytime something pops up, you put it down. And then the next step in the GTD system is to organize things into lists that will act as context-specific cues. He suggests a list of things that you can do in specific places and for different chunks of time. Then if I'm waiting at the pharmacy, I can pull out my list of phone calls. The line looks like it's going to be about 10 minutes long. That is not 10 wasted minutes. I can look for something on my to-do list that's under the quick list and under the phone list, right? And if they're on both of those lists, that's something I can do while I'm in line at the pharmacy. If I have 5 minutes before my next appointment and I'm at my desk, then I can pull out a quick thing. I know when I'm most productive, or if I have a big chunk of time when I don't have appointments, I might pick up something long to work on or something that has a deadline coming up. So this system of multiple tags of how long it takes and the place that you do it in is a really neat system. It's one that I personally, that's part of the modification that I've made, but it works really good. The final thing that David Allen says is a requirement is a trusted system. And if you don't trust your system, if your system has let you down in the past, if your system is the sticky note system that has fallen off the door, or the piece of mail taped to the door, and that you've come to not trust it. So now you've not only got a piece of mail stuck to the door, but you've told yourself 100 times over, don't forget the mail, don't forget the mail, don't forget the mail. You might write it down, but you don't really let it go out of your head if you don't trust the system. So setting up at 3 o'clock in the morning with the sudden memory that you didn't mail that letter doesn't happen if you have something you trust, like OneNote. You already trust OneNote, right? Because OneNote is with you wherever you go. If you have your phone, if you have a pad, if you have a piece of paper you can take a picture of later and shoot it into OneNote. Almost anything can be shooted from anywhere at any time into OneNote. And it's organized like a notebook. It's clear how this could be a really great way to implement personalized GTD system. So after you watch David Allen give a lecture on the system, while taking notes, of course, you'll watch how a group called Tuts and Computer Skills sets up his Getting Things Done process using OneNote. This is definitely not the way I do mine. I have a modified Kanban system, which I have a picture of here. I spit everything out of my head as it comes up into my on deck if I'm sitting at my desk. If I'm not sitting at my desk, it goes into a quick note section. So if I'm in my car driving, I can just do a quick voice command. Don't forget, blah, blah, blah. Remind me at 3 p.m., which I know I'll be at my desk, to add such and such to the desk, or send to OneNote. There's a OneNote app for your phone. There's 100 different ways to add things to OneNote, and that's a whole separate deal, and everybody will have their own way. So I'm going to let you figure that part out. But all my stuff ends up in the on deck section of, which is on the section here on the very left. Everything coming in that needs to be processed by me, that's something to do, ends up on the on deck list. Every morning, as soon as I sit down, I glance it over and I move whatever needs to get done today into the in progress list. I will often, this is my list just for this class. I have a major list that's everything that I do have sorted into quick, medium, and long projects so that I can use the time element that we talked about earlier. In progress is what I'm doing today. I look at it 100 times a day. During the day, of course, 100 more things come up and I'm adding them to lists. Some things need to get done that day. Other things go on into on deck to be processed later. When I get something that I've asked Nancy to do something for me, and I'll put it over here under waiting for Nancy. And I can't tell you, usually if I've passed something on to someone else, I kind of check it off of my mental list because I know I'm not waiting for something, and then I'll forget. If they don't get back to me, I would not remember that I've got this thing hanging out that needs to take attention. If it's on my waiting for, I never forget. And I can't tell you how impressed people are when 3 weeks later I review this twice a week. So in a couple of weeks, if I haven't seen it, or if it's getting late, or there's a deadline coming up, I know just who to nudge and who to remind that I'm waiting for something from them that I haven't seen yet. So I always look organized in that case. And then I have the completed section. So I move everything that's done over onto the completed section instead of just deleting it. And then I archive that. I'll have a completed for January, completed for February, completed for March. Just another page so that at one page for, and then I'll have 12 little spreadsheet little deals, 12 lists for the year. So everything that was done in 2020 is going to end up on one page of my OneNote notebook in its own list. This will say completed January. And I'll have it all out, and I can go back and I can search it and find what I did. I'm often asked to give a report. You might not have to do that of what all I accomplished in January, but you can also go and say, no, I'm sure I called the pharmacist. Yep, I called the doctor back in February and haven't, that kind of thing. So it gives you a record of what all you've accomplished, which is really nice to have. So that's getting things done in OneNote. You are going to watch 3 videos. You're going to watch the 1 hour David Allen one with him describing his own system. You are going to watch and take notes. And you are going to watch then a briefer overview that kind of pulls that all into a 7-minute overview for you. And then you're going to watch the Getting Things Done using OneNote by the Tuts folks. So You're going to watch 3 videos and take notes on 3 videos. And then you're going to set up your system. And you can do that however you would like. As I said, there are purists who use getting things done only and exactly as described by David Allen. And then there are others like me who take what he described and modified it to work the way I work. And my system evolved over time. I started out doing it exactly the way he does, and then I found out I didn't really use the system where I was place specific, but I sometimes have a project specific mini Kanban going. So either way is wonderful. I can't wait to see what you do. So quest number 1 is your video watching and note taking. The hour-long video, that's the longest lecture that you have been asked to make a single page of notes for in this class thus far. It's a whole new challenge to condense only the most important bits from something that long, and it's really excellent practice for lecture note making from a lecture. You have 3 videos, so you will have 3 pages of notes to upload for the first quest. Your second quest is create your system, and this is a big project, right? So that's going to take more time and effort, and your experience points are reflecting that by being worth 200 points. So set up your OneNote. You'll need a capture page and a sorting system at the very minimum. Give me a little tour of your system somehow. The easiest way is probably to open a Zoom video call, and you just won't have any guests in your room, and hit start recording and share your screen, and that's a really easy way to make a quick video tour for me. Should be less than 3 minutes, and this is a bigger project, so give yourself some time, and we won't do any other reading this week. All right, you guys, have a fun week. It's a really interesting system, and once you have a system, the rest of your life gets organized. So enjoy.